Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Crystal Avera. My calling in life is to give a voice to the horses. That has shown up in various ways. I am an empath, so I'm clairsentient is another way to say that, and that means I'm psychic. So different psychics have different strengths or different gifts, and once you really start to develop those gifts, others may show up as well. And that, of course, also happened to me. But definitely, as an empath, clairsentience is still my greatest strength. So I feel things. I feel not only things very deeply myself, but I feel the feelings of others, and very specifically animals. And so that's one of the ways that my calling to give a voice to the horses showed up. I would be in the space of horses as a equine therapy certified equine specialist through EGALA, for instance. I would be in the space of therapy horses, and I would just feel their feelings. I've talked about it as and compared it to this high-pitched noise I've seen on TV. For instance, if someone's adjusting a hearing aid, or if I've heard people talk about their hearing aid needing adjusting when they turn it on and it's up too high, it is this high-pitched sound, and it's almost unbearable. When I'm in the space of animals that are in distress, it is, or people too, but again, my calling is to give a voice to the horses, so I felt it strongly there, like that high-pitched, unbearable sound. And so I found that I began my graduate studies 3 years ago and just finished that. So I incorporated research on specifically therapy horses and how they burn out and what can be done about that. And just found that there's not data out there. There's not a lot of data that's been gathered. So it has been and continues to be a lot of data gathering, and that's a passion of mine. So that how horses, especially in the like I said, my research has been in the therapy industry specifically, may seem like they're calm, cool, collected, like they're relaxed and fine, but they're really shut down. So I used that time and those projects to research this, and what I have found through that research is supported by my own experiences as an empath, as a clairsentient in the space of animals when they're feeling this way. I also, for a few years, was a natural horsemanship professional, and so I would pursue taking on horses that were labeled trouble horses or troubled horses, that were unsafe, that people just felt like they could no longer handle, and they needed the horse to be fixed before they could do any more with them. Those horses I found being in their space energetically, and again, as an empath, as a clairsentient, I began to see that pattern where they were in distress. They were misunderstood. They were not being listened to. They were not being asked questions about what they really wanted. No matter what method was used to try and help them or fix them, as many people many people have the approach of fixing, the horse would still struggle. And what I discovered is oftentimes they're in such distress because they are not being heard. And then I also pursued becoming a Reiki master because I had a natural calling of feeling the energy and using energy with healing hands and different things, and I would just get guidance from the horses when I was with them. So I had a teacher who said that, we should pursue what we feel a calling to, rather than go try and pursue to learn something that we think sounds great or sounds cool or we'd like to know. It was about turning inward and discovering or rediscovering what was really already a natural inclination of ours. And so I ultimately pursued Reiki, and that also is another way that giving a voice to the horses has come into my life. So it's multifaceted, as everything in life is. There's all these beautiful layers, and that is something that I love to talk about, and I love to be grateful for, because it's not just one thing. We are not just one thing, but at my core, my calling is to give voice to the horses. So anyway, that's a long description of my calling in life and who I am. So I'd love to know about you as well. Please comment here, send a message if any of that I just said resonates with you and your experience with horses, and let's connect. Okay, so today I want to talk to you guys about some key things that I've learned over the years from horses. Very specifically, my horse, Jessie, a mare that's still in my life. She sort of started it all for me, this journey, and she continues to be my greatest teacher. Teachers can come in lots of sizes and packages, and she became a strong teacher to me by showing me emphatically what was not working for her early on, and it took me a little bit to get a clue, that brick upside the head thing. But man, when we started down this path, the beauty that we uncovered together and continue to uncover together has matched the difficulty that got me to open up my eyes and open up that door. So, this past week, and I've been talking with clients of mine, and they've been gracious enough to answer some questions for me. My intention in asking these questions was that I wanted to really learn what it is that my clients, the people that identify with me and that are called to work with me or hire me to help them transform their life with their horses. I wanted to really understand what their needs and wants are and where they're really at, because I'm developing a pilot program that's all about transformation. And I want this to really be a strong program that is putting the customer's needs first. So I got some really good input, and what I found is that there are some really similar needs. I got some really similar answers across the board on some things, and I want to talk to you guys about that. So number one, a question was, what is really holding you back at this point? What is something that's in the way of your reaching your ideal life with your horse or horses? And the answer I got across the board, one answer I got across the board, is a community that doesn't shut me down, a community that doesn't belittle me, a community that does not give me unsolicited advice and constant judgment. So please give a thumbs up or a heart or a comment if this resonates with you, and I'd love to hear more about that. from you as well. Certainly, I've been there, and it's a real potential block. So that was one question. So another question I asked was, what would it really take for you to have a breakthrough, to get that life that you desire with your horse or with your herd? And across the board, one answer I got regularly was to feel like my horse trusts me. So have you guys ever experienced that, where you just, regardless of what you're doing or what teacher you're working with or what method you're trying, that you have, when you get really honest with yourself, you realize you simply don't feel like your horse trusts you? So that was a really, really common answer, and I so appreciate the willingness to be open and honest and vulnerable. And again, it really resonates with me. It's something that I struggled with for many years, and I consistently sought out help for that. But I didn't know that's what I was seeking help for. I thought I needed a approach, a method. So not having my horse trust me, that was a big one. Okay, so the last question I want to address today or talk about today is what really gets in your way when it comes to your desires and the relationship you want with your horse or your herd. And that would change everything. So here's the answer, guys. And again, across the board, I got this consistently. And I think it's amazing how aware my clients that answered this are, and how self-aware. And man, if I could have identified that in the years where I had so much struggle, what a change it could have been for me. So just understanding that and getting that real with yourself is huge. But anyway, here's the answer. I feel like I'm not enough. So has that been something that that you ever experienced, or that you can identify with, that resonates with you? When you and what my clients have been able to identify for themselves, and it's so beautiful, and the people that were willing to answer my questions, that have a shared philosophy, with me, that I was very specific about the people that I asked, because I wanted, again, to gather information that helps me really create a solid pilot program that really transforms, that gets to the heart of it for people. So when you feel like you're not enough, no matter what you do, no matter what layer of method or what master teacher that you bring in or that you study with, or what approach you take, because that's all doing this, right? That's the doing part of things that people get so caught up in. We as humans, we get in our mind and we think about how to fix things, and then we do and we do and we do and we do. And if at the root of it, if deep down you or any of us really just simply don't believe that we're good enough, don't believe that we are worthy, don't believe that we can really be what our horse needs, then there's nothing, the doingness, that's going to make a difference, right? So first of all, identifying that is huge. And again, I've been there. So I wanted to just tell you guys a story that sort of encompasses all these things for me. And I would love to hear from you. A thumbs up, a heart, or a comment, or a question. I would love to get some questions while we're live. And if not, while we're live, if you watch this replay, please continue the conversation with us over in my free Facebook group, the Horse and Soul Journey free Facebook group. Join the community. So one of the experiences I had early on with my horse, in the first couple years with her, that kind of broke me down into, I literally was in the fetal position after this, and then just completely shut down for a couple weeks after. So this was a really big breakthrough for me at the time. I didn't know that. I thought it was just over. I thought I would never be able to have a relationship with this horse, and I just had no clue where to go. So anyway, I was struggling with my horse because she wouldn't do what I thought she should do. So if I got on her, first of all, getting on her was sometimes very interesting. She might completely decide to take a side step away from me. She had started to drop a shoulder so that, so clever. So she would drop her shoulder so that when I tried to get on, it looked like, it felt like, oh, I'm going to get on, and then she would drop that shoulder and off I would slide, or I couldn't get on. And, she put very little physical effort into it, but she figured out ways to really cause things to go in that direction where I either wouldn't get on, or when I did get on, just not a lot would happen. She didn't want to move forward, literally at all. She, I did things that I'd learned in some of my dressage lessons at that time. I thought, I'm going to get on you, and we're going to go ride in circles. I didn't know why. Flexion, balance, it's supposed to look like this. This is what we're supposed to do. And if you don't do this, then we are both complete failures. Anyway, so I would try those kind of things. And what I got, and what I figured out really fast was that I just had zero clue. And so I would seek out clinicians, people, that term natural horsemanship or natural horseman is something that, I was seeking, that I thought was the answer to all my problems with my horse. And so I live, as I think all you guys know, I live on Oahu on the North Shore. And so we don't have access to a lot of professionals in the horse industry, period, whether it be trainers or otherwise. So at that time, people were coming in here and there, and people in my horse community at the ranch where I was boarding and had met over the years would say, oh, you need this person. This guy's coming in and he's great. Natural horseman. Now, at that time, I would just say, oh, good, sign me up. Where do I pay? And I'd never met them, but of course we knew that to get people here, we had to, they had to book enough clients, right? So I didn't have a chance to really watch them. Sorry guys, I'm getting all these notices on my computer. I'm going to get that out of the way. So I didn't get a chance to get to know them by any means or watch them, and at the time, the internet wasn't so available as far as videos and kind of getting to know people that you're maybe considering working with. So I would just go for it. Well, I had a few of those fail, but one of the biggest sort of experiences was when there was a guy that was supposed to be an incredible horseman, natural horseman, and he was going to help me fix things with my horse, right? So he comes out to the North Shore where I was boarding my horse, and I had scheduled a one-on-one session with him. Now, speaking of community, right, and the effects of community one way or the other, I was in the arena in the front of the facility, And a lot of the other boarders and people were gathering around, all at the fence line, sort of hanging out. Now, what we all, I think, know that so often doesn't get addressed, which I have come to require gets addressed before I do any sessions with people, is that when you're learning, it's a very vulnerable place to be. And certainly for those of us that are on this journey with our horses and go so far as to seek out help with the relationship as the focus, we care deeply about this journey, and that makes us, I believe, even more vulnerable because it matters so much. So nobody said to me, hey, are you okay with people around? Would you rather this be more of a private session? And of course, it was kind of in the center of the front of the facility, which so often is the case. So, and I would never have even at that time considered asking people to sort of back off, because I would have considered it rude. Nowadays, I would absolutely set my boundaries. Okay, so there we are, gathered up. I've been really struggling with my horse at this point. I mean, I'm almost at my wit's end. And so this guy's sort of supposed to be the savior of it all, right? So he starts to have me do exercises with my horse, which I do. I try to do. So here's the way it went. I don't remember a timeline because it was, I sort of went into a fog because of what happened for me emotionally. And also at one point it was very scary physically. So he would have me doing exercises. I was on my horse. He would have me doing exercises. So what basically happened was that my horse, she decided she's going to leave the arena. That was her first choice. She's just going to leave. You know, first it started with, I don't want to move. I don't want to do this. And then he would give me, you put more pressure. No, you require this of her. You know, more leg, more this, more. So my horse kind of progressed when her voice wasn't heard with the, I just don't want to deal with this right now. I don't want to be here. And this is not, I'm sort of offended at the approach you're taking. When she wasn't heard, my very opinionated, beautiful mare, representative of the goddess divine, decided she's leaving the arena. And again, I was on her. So what that looked like and what it felt like physically was very scary. So she started to get faster and faster and more adamant, and a little bit of bucking and crow hopping. And then she started to rear, because of course every time she would get stronger in her opinion and stronger in her message, this expert horseman that I had never met before and had hired would say things to me like, you got to keep, get in there. You got to let that horse know who's boss. You better keep at it, or you're teaching her to do exactly this. You're teaching her not to do what you want her to. All you guys know the drill, right? You've heard it all, I'm sure. Again, all these people gathered at the fence line of the arena. So I don't mean sitting back on chairs. I mean we're commenting. I can hear them. I can certainly feel their energy. And she was rearing pretty heavily at this point. And what was happening for me emotionally was I was just feeling like this horse absolutely would rather kill me than be with me. Like, she wants me off of her, and she's willing to do what it takes. And so we were in a full-fledged fight. This is not, I want to be your partner, and let's find a way. And for me, I felt like this horse absolutely hates me. It's later I identified that because I was so emotional. So I started crying. And, I was so embarrassed because how dare I show emotions? I was in the military. I just grew up in a way that, especially in the military, and I saw myself, as somebody who would just suck it up and just go on. So I can't hold the tears back anymore. Meanwhile, my husband is down at the other end of the arena filming the whole thing. And he's thinking, boy, Crystal's doing great. She's handling all that stuff. Look at this. She's, getting right through it. Like, right, he saw my horse rearing and saw me staying on and thought he couldn't hear anything. And he thought, my task is to video this for Crystal to have for later. So I'm doing that and she's doing great. Okay, so I'm now crying, and it gets to a point, those moments in life when your emotions have gotten a hold of you, and you know that, for a little bit, maybe you can suppress it, or you can not give in to the full-fledged, like, bawling and crying if that's the emotion that's wanting to come up, and you're in a public place maybe, or with people that you don't want to be vulnerable with, you don't feel comfortable. So you think, I can get through this until I can get out of this. And then there's that moment when you go, oh shit, it's coming. Like, I'm going to bawl. I'm going to cry. I'm going to just have to be in this right now. And here it is. There's nothing, I can't hold it back. That's what happened to me. So I looked at this horseman, right, who was supposed to be this master horseman. And my horse is rearing and striking at this point, and I said to him, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I said, I'm done, because I knew emotionally I was so far gone that I could not. I couldn't hear anything. I wasn't going to be able to do the things that he was asking me to do. I certainly wasn't in a learning frame of mind. And I just was shutting down. And I was very scared. Physically, I was very scared. And so he said, well, something, I forget his exact words, but something to the effect of, well, Crystal, if you can't handle this, maybe you need a different horse. And of course, at some point through all this, he had gotten on the horse to fix her, right? So I got off my horse, and people were making comments unsolicited in my community that were right there. Maybe you should send that horse down the road. It's that kind of deal, though, where it's like a blowhorn on the one. Your emotions are so high. Tell me if you guys have experienced this. Your emotions are so high, and you're so fragile that what you're hearing is sort of blaring here, right? That what's going on for you is like blaring out really loud and just like, whoa. And then people are wanting to have like a normal conversation. So I just don't really remember. I hear the comments coming at me, send her down the road, get another horse, mare takes advantage of you, all these things. And I'm just getting through there, and I get over to my husband, and because I knew I was going to have a real breakdown. So, and I did. I did after that. I felt I'm not enough. I'm not enough for this horse. I found, I looked for people that I thought would be enough for her. And I actually asked, I found one, it was one place in Montana that I would go to spend time and learn sort of the Buckaroo way of horsemanship. And I thought, man, if she could go live in that herd, they have got such a beautiful life, and these are incredible horsemen and women there. And I contacted them, and they weren't taking mares because they just didn't want to deal with that in their large herd, because they would take people out, and they didn't want to deal with sort of bringing the mare energy into the group of geldings. So I did that. I did a lot of things. I did a lot of soul searching. I sure didn't touch my horse. And the only thing that kept me from giving her to just anybody, because I was so distraught and so shut down, and so I was just feeling so bad about myself and what I was offering her. I knew that this particular horse was so opinionated, and I knew that if I didn't find her the right home, if I decided to find her a different home, which is again what I pursued there right after, because I really did not think I was enough. I thought we'd basically proved that. What I did, I was at least able to identify then, as clueless as I was, that she would get pushed around. She would definitely get shut down. She would have, that mentality of make her do all these things because her opinion is too strong, and that's not acceptable. So she would, even from a natural horsemanship perspective, I was getting that experience from people that were considered great horsemen or experts and that kind of thing. So sort of by the grace of God, I just didn't end up getting rid of this horse when I felt so at the end of my rope or my abilities to be the right human for her. And that was really the beginning of me having to take a real long, hard look at the community I'd surrounded myself by, and how that really affected me and that it mattered. The fact that I certainly didn't feel like my horse trusted me, and that mattered. And I needed to find a way to be a person that she could trust. So I felt like a lot of work to do. So that began this journey of me pursuing an education for me. And to become the person that this horse deserved. And I definitely had to get honest, and this was really hard on my ego. I had to get honest with myself that I did not feel like enough. And man, that was hard because I had a big ego. So that was the beginning for me, and I would love to hear about you guys and your experiences and any breakthroughs that you've had, and if you identify with this. So again, I'm so grateful to the clients and the beautiful people that have been willing to answer my questions as I designed this program of transformation. And we want to get really real and really honest and raw about it so that I can really bring something that's useful. And if you are interested and would be willing to answer this, I think it's 7 questions. It's really simple, really quick. For me, I would love to add more data so that I can really create a program that offers something really real, really transformational. Please contact me. Please head over to my free Facebook community, Horse and Soul Journey, and in the group, and let's continue this conversation. There's some important things here, and acknowledging that we are human, and we do have needs, and we do have real feelings, and all those things matter when it comes to the relationship we have with our horse. Let's celebrate each other. Let's talk about that together. Let's lift each other up. Let's be in a community where we know we're not alone and that we're in alignment. So I hope to see you over in the group, and I'll see you next week. Aloha.